The SBC World Cup show continues. The first set of quarterfinal games have completed. Brazil are knocked out by Croatia in penalties, 1-1 in penalties. Brazil are going home. Croatia move on to the semifinals. Imran, thoughts?
Yeah, you got to give credit to Croatia. I mean, the way they made it really hard in Brazil. Brazil had like a lot of shots. They attacked more, but at the end of the day, Croatia were just great defensively, and even though they conceded a lot of shots, the game still didn't look out of control for them. They still had some. They still had the ball a little bit, and they still like on the breakthrough a little bit dangerous. And for Brazil, they just weren't enough difference makers to me. I mean, it's just Neymar had that one play in extra time, but other than that, it was just there was just not enough. They didn't show their quality enough to me. And again, you have to give credit to Croatia because they just found a way to somehow get it to penalties, and they just dreamed for a penalty. If it came to penalties, they were going to be happy with it, and they got to penalties and they got the job done.
Yeah, I thought Brazil was definitely by far the better team throughout the 90 minutes. They created more chances. They had four, four very, very, very good chances. And if it wasn't for Livakovic or whatever, they would have won that game within 90 minutes. I thought Brazil did show their quality within the first 90 minutes. They just weren't clinical enough and didn't. It's simple. It comes down to not being able to get it past the goalkeeper. They
I
created
wouldn't say it
enough.
was there
They
weren't
create.
clear enough chances
They
though.
created
The-
many. Neymar had two that were saved, and then Paquetá had one. Paquetá
Yes,
had
but like
two.
the
Paquetá had
goalkeeper
two
is good.
clear chances.
Livakovic was
Neymar had
good,
two.
but at the
Listen,
same time, they weren't like, oh, you have to score that type of
there
chances.
three of them were one on ones. How is that not? What do you mean they're not? It's one on one. It's
No, but
player
like the
versus
goalkeeper does a
goalkeeper.
good job of just closing down the angles to where you
Exactly.
can't
The
do anything.
goalkeeper, the
Yeah, so they're
goalkeeper
not
did a
great
good
chances
job,
at
but
the end of the day.
you can't sit here and say Brazil didn't create, Brazil didn't show their quality. They had their chances, and at the end of the day, they have to take advantage. But Brazil showed their quality. Brazil were the better team. I thought Croatia looked calm and composed, especially that first half. They were able. They It wasn't like Brazil, South Korea. Brazil didn't come and jump into their foot. Croatia were the ones that took control of the possession. And you could tell Croatia, they wanted to make the game as short as possible. You know, they're not going to be able to hold the ball for 90 minutes, but the chances that they did to get the ball, they wanted to bleed out 1, 2 minutes at a time, passing the ball around, controlling it in the midfield to make the game as short as possible, to limit the chances of Brazilian attacking as short as possible. Um, I thought I just thought Brazil really lacked that final cutting edge in that final ball. And that did not change at all whenever Rafinha and Vinicius got subbed off. Anthony was pretty lively. Rodrigo was pretty lively too, but they didn't have that final ball, that final chance. Paquetá and Neymar had a couple, and at the end of the day, Livakovic made the saves. And once it got to extra time, I mean, Brazil finally got the breakthrough through a moment of magic from their player, their wonder kid, Neymar. And you think that's enough. But for some reason, in the 117th minute, you let a counter attack when you're up 1-0. You have seven players in the opposing half, and you allow a counter attack. At that point, I was like, you deserve to lose in those situations. If it wasn't for, I don't know, I forgot. It's all a haste to me. I forgot who even scored a goal. But if it wasn't for him, there was another Croatian player right there. There was two on the back post. Like there was two on the back post that Orsic had that he could have picked out. It was terrible, terrible transition defending and terrible just lapse in concentration. Why do you have seven players in the opposing box when you're up 1-0? And to top it all
Exactly.
off, Fred, he brings in Fred and makes a defensive substitution, which I do not agree with going defensive with like 15, 20 minutes left in the game whenever you only have 1-0 lead. I do not, especially when you're Brazil. Going defensive was a joke to me. You are Brazil. And to top it all off, you go defensive and you take out an attacking player and bring in Fred, and you still allow an opportunity for transition. That game was lost from TT number one, Chichi or whatever you want to call him, number one. Number two, their stupidity on the Brazilian players' behalf, allowing a transition, having seven players in the opposing half whenever you're up 1-0 in the 117th minute. That was dumb. Whenever it reached penalties, there was only one winner. Oh, you want to keep talking about Chichi? Putting a 21-year-old to kick the first penalty kick.
Exactly. Yeah.
Joke. Neymar should have taken the first penalty kick. What happened? Argentina. Messi took their first penalty kick. They won. Croatia. Who took their first penalty? No, actually, I don't think
It
it was
wasn't
Modric.
Modric. It
It
was,
wasn't Modric. It was someone else.
yeah.
But still, it doesn't matter. I mean, they're all
Yeah, you
used
don't
to
put a
coming.
21-year-old to take the first penalty. That just shouldn't happen because there's a lot of pressure on the first penalty taker because you gotta tie up the game because Croatia already scored and did Croatia already score? Did they go first?
But it was look, Croatia, they've been here before. I've just said this last time that they when they beat I forgot, Japan, they are professional winners. They'll always be in it at the end. They've been in extra time in every single major tournament game, knockout stage game that they played since the 2016 Euros. They've been in extra time at least. 2016 Euros when they got knocked out by Portugal. 2018 they played Denmark. They played 2018 they played Denmark, Russia, and England all extra time, besides the World Cup final, not including the World Cup final. And then the Euros, Spain, they lost to Spain in extra time. They're always in it at the end because they're well-heeled, they're tacticians. They don't have the most talent in the world because they're 4 or 5 million, but they got enough and they got enough spirit and belief that they always and competitive warriors inside of them that make them believe that they'll play it into the game. And they were not outmatched today. Brazil were the better team. They had more quality. That was obvious leading in, but they were not outmatched, and they're always comfortable in the positions that they were in until that goal went in. Then they really had to come out of their shell. But at the end of the day, a Brazil Belgium for us Brazil fans, Brazil Belgium gave us nightmares about how that game was lost. This was going to be the way worse for the next 4 years. This was catastrophic for Brazilian fans, and yeah, it's a shame, but hats off to Croatia. I mean, Luka Modric, someone needs to give his credits while he's still playing. 37, 38-year-old, played in 2 straight extra time games, 120 minutes straight, went to penalty straight, controlled the midfield in both games, even in the group stages. We talk about Ballon d'Ors and all that. Well, he's the only guy in recent history besides Benzema, Messi, and Ronaldo to have one, and he's up there with one of the greats. Um, Probably a top 3 midfielder in my eyes, taking Croatia to 2 World Cup semifinals. That's not to be joked over. What he's done at Real Madrid throughout his career, he's one great player, and it's good for Croatia, and they have every chance to believe that they should be going back to the World Cup final. And hats off to Zlatko Dalic, who's one hell of a coach too.
Yeah, he definitely made the right subs like in
He
each
always
game,
he
like
always
against
keeps
Japan right
he
now as
always
well.
keeps them in this game against Japan. He
Yeah.
wasn't afraid to take out his experienced players, Modric, Perisic, um, Kovacic, and it paid off. Today,
hmm
decided to go the other way, left them in throughout the 90 minutes, throughout extra time, and went besides Kovacic.
Kovac just went out, yeah.
And he's not afraid to make the tough decisions. He's one great coach.